Welcome back to the Healthy Skin Coach Show. I'm your host, Takashi, helping you get clear skin and preaching to the world why food is the ultimate medicine. Today, I have a special guest with me. Her name is Kellie Blake, and she is a registered dietitian and nutritionist, and also runs the company Nutrisense Consulting. And I'm really happy that she's here with me today.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. And let's first get started. Could you describe your background and your inspiration on becoming a nutritionist?
Sure. So I always wanted to be in the medical field, but I did not want to be a physician and I did not want to be a nurse. So I thought a dietitian would be an opportunity to really get into the clinical aspect, that I wanted, but not have those long hours, hopefully, and all that education. So, and I love food. I love to cook, and I've always been interested in how food affects the body. So I thought that would be the perfect career for me, and it has turned out to be fabulous. I started out about almost 20 years ago as a dietitian, and my career has changed over the years, and now I focus more on functional nutrition just based on my own personal struggles with autoimmune disease.
What kind of autoimmune conditions were you experiencing?
So I was actually experiencing symptoms of psoriasis when I was 5 years old. And that lasted, much into my early 20s. I had skin plaques that I had to treat with topical steroids. And then that kind of morphed into mild psoriatic arthritis in my late 20s. And I experienced fatigue, joint pain, muscle aches, just debilitating fatigue later on, and so many symptoms that conventional medicine could not help me cure. I was put on non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs for 8 years continuously, which is not good for your gut health, which I didn't know at the time. And, I really experienced a lot of negative symptoms. I had headaches every day. I had at least one symptom every day. And it seemed like, I went to several rheumatologists. I went to dermatologists. I went to my regular family physician, and no one could help me figure out the root cause of why I was having these symptoms. And so that led me finally to the functional medicine, functional nutrition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds definitely like food sensitivities. Around that time, what kind of foods were you eating?
So I thought that I had a pretty healthy diet. I was one of those people that paid attention to calories, and I exercised a lot, and I felt like I was pretty much in general following a healthy meal plan. But looking back, I really ate a lot of foods that contained gluten and dairy. I was lacking in vegetables, and phytonutrients, the things that our bodies really need to heal and to create a healthy gut microbiome. So turns out I was doing damage to myself with the foods that I was eating and consuming, and my lifestyle. Not that I had an unhealthy lifestyle necessarily, but I didn't manage my stress well, and I didn't sleep well because I had a lot of problems with pain and joint pain and those types of things that kept me awake at night. So all those things, kind of culminated into, just to the point where I was having to sleep in my car on my lunch break. I was so fatigued. And so that was unacceptable to me. And I started talking to some family members who had made some changes, my cousin Jacqueline specifically. And she said, why don't you go gluten and dairy free and just see if it helps with your symptoms? And so in May of 2017, I had visited the rheumatologist for the last time, thankfully. And he said, I don't have anything else to offer you. We don't have anything else, because I had been tried on lots of medications and things that really exacerbated my symptoms. Nothing would really help me feel well. And so I decided at that time that I was just going to try the gluten and dairy free diet and start taking some nutritional supplements like vitamin D and fish oil. And I noticed a big change, but I was still not optimal. And so I wanted to be optimal. So I sought out the Cleveland Clinic Center for Functional Medicine and went there in November of 2017, and my entire life was changed. They put me on an elimination diet, and within about 3 days, I knew that things were going to be changing for me and that I was going to feel better and I was going to be able to reverse, this process. And so I was on an elimination diet for 8 weeks. right through the holidays. But I didn't care because I felt so much better. And, I had felt so bad for so long that I was really willing to do anything that they asked me to do. And throughout that process, I learned that I didn't have enough stomach acid to digest my food. I had an altered gut microbiome. And so all of these things together had really culminated in my symptoms. And so I started chipping away at each one of those things with nutrition and lifestyle to really reverse that process. And I was able to come off of the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs in July of 2018, and I have not taken any of those things. I don't take any medication now, and my symptoms have been reversed. I no longer have psoriasis, and I don't have psoriatic arthritis symptoms.
Wow. Yeah. Incredible story. And it's actually very similar to my story. I mean, I had eczema as a kid, had severe acne in college, and then just last year had severe eczema. And it was all food related, but you don't know until for me, I was debilitated in my bed. And then when it blindsides you, then you take nutrition seriously because you have to move on with life. And then I was never satisfied with dermatologists who would always prescribe me more and more steroid creams. I have one right here, and this is not the answer, guys. If you're listening or watching, this is not the answer. Now that I understand nutrition and why food is the ultimate medicine, then I just want to help people all over the world. And girls from Africa and South America are reaching out to me because they have severe psoriasis or severe acne, and their doctors aren't helpful at all. And it really motivates me every single day to help them heal the right way through food.
Right. So we have an inside out approach, right? So you're not focusing on the outside. The outside is just a reflection of what's going on the inside of your body. And a lot of times it boils down to the gut microbiome and alterations and a dysfunction that exists in the gut microbiome. And when we target that with food and nutritional supplements and lifestyle, I mean, the results can be amazing.
Definitely, definitely. And what's your current diet like?
So I remain gluten, dairy, soy, and corn free. I stay away from food additives. Try to consume lots of plant-based foods. I eat a little bit of grass-fed red meat. Other than that, I don't really eat animal products other than eggs. And so I really try to stay away from sugar and any kind of added sugar. I drink a green smoothie every morning for my breakfast. And my husband and I make dinner together every night. We do not eat out, very rarely unless we're traveling. I really try to consume organic-based foods and local food as much as possible, and just really a plant-based, whole food, real food diet. I stay away from junk food, those types of things.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. If you could eat one junk food that won't affect your health, what would it be?
Ice cream. I love ice cream, and I miss ice cream. But I actually wrote a cookbook called the Psoriasis Diet Cookbook, and I have a recipe in there for a vegan avocado ice cream that's excellent. So it's a great substitute. And can't say that I really miss anything because I've just found a new normal, and I find things that I like that are good substitutes.
Yeah, same. I don't really miss the foods I was eating just because in my mind, I think, okay, if I eat that, I'll get eczema in 3 or 4 days, and then it'll take
Right.
me a month to heal since fresh new skin comes out once a month. So when I go through that thought process, then I don't really have any temptation at all.
Yeah, it's just not worth it. And I can't say that I have had times when I have had a piece of cake at a birthday, at a baby shower or whatnot, and I do pay for it. 3 days later, you're exactly right. Those symptoms start to creep back in. And so I limit those things as much as possible. And I really very rarely consume anything that's not, on my meal plan. And I will just make the point that meal plans have to be personalized. What works for me may not work for another person, and your body's so specific. So what I do in my private practice is help people uncover hidden food sensitivities and things that might be affecting them that they didn't realize. I'll just use myself as an example. When I went on the elimination diet, I didn't know that I had an issue with corn. And so when I took that out of my diet and then I tried to add it back in, I noticed that I had symptoms creeping back in when I added that product. And so that was something that was unknown to me. And I wouldn't have known that had I not eliminated it and then tried to add it back in.
Yeah, and corn can be hidden in so many foods.
Everywhere. And it's in salt. I mean, it's in table salt. Cornstarch is in table salt.
Yeah.
So you have to be really careful about labels and where things are hidden.
And I'm super vigilant on what I put in my mouth and on my skin, because I am a healthy skin coach, and all these synthetic ingredients are just doing long-term damage, and no one knows about it. And they're just comfortable putting on the latest product all over their face without doing a patch test. And it's crazy to me.
I know that's another thing that I've changed. I really went through all of my personal care products and my household products that I use, and really avoid anything that's toxic or something that could potentially cause a problem for me. So that's been another change that I've made over the last 3 years, and it's really been life-changing.
And what are some of your most memorable client stories?
Yeah, so in my private practice, I see people with a lot of issues, and a lot of times people that come to see me are at the end of their rope. And where I live in West Virginia, and I'm licensed in West Virginia, Kentucky, and Ohio, and it's sort of a functional medicine desert where I am. And so by the time that people reach me, they are kind of willing to do anything, which is awesome, because they're very compliant and willing to make changes, because they were kind of like I was, at the end of their rope and feeling so miserable every day that they're willing to do whatever it takes. So one right off the bat is a client that I had that came to me with a rare autoimmune disease. And so I knew if we targeted her gut, we could improve all of her symptoms. And so she had aplastic anemia, and that disorder can be very devastating for a young person. And she had gotten this diagnosis and just didn't know what to do. And she came to see me, and we worked on her improving her gut health and targeting her stress management with yoga. And her results were amazing. I mean, she really changed her life and her fatigue level, her ability to work and take care of her son, and all of these things were improved. And so that was really there's nothing better than helping somebody change their life and watching the progress that they can make just through nutrition and lifestyle related changes. Another lady that I worked with was an excessive exerciser. And so she came to me with adrenal fatigue, we determined. And so we created a plan with nutritional supplements, and she went on an elimination diet, and we really backed off on her exercise. And her results were amazing as well. She lost weight. She had been having difficulty losing weight because she was excessively training and not treating her body well. And so we started to back off some of that intense exercise, and she had really amazing results.
Wow.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Awesome. How long did it take for you to write the book, the Psoriasis Diet Cookbook?
So I started that process in September of last year, and I completed it around December, and it'll be released on April 28th. So, we're coming up on the official release date. It's available now for pre-order, but it's out officially on the 28th of this month.
To the trillions of listeners and viewers out there, make sure you go get that book on Amazon.
Nice. Thank you.
What's your favorite recipe in that book?
Oh gosh, there's so many. I have 75 recipes, and I always say, I'm a dietitian, I'm not a chef. But I think that the recipes turned out great. And so one of my favorite recipes are black bean burgers that my husband and I make. And when I first, created that recipe, he was kind of like, I don't know about this, a burger without meat. But he's actually perfected it so that it's crispy on the outside and the inside is just so perfect. And so we eat those every couple of weeks, and they're very, very good. They're good to reheat as well for a leftover for lunch. So we usually make 4 or 5 at a time and take them for lunch the next day. And then I also love the vegan avocado ice cream. That's a great treat. And you can actually eat that as a pudding if you can't wait for it to freeze. So that's one of my favorite options as well. But there's breakfast recipes with smoothies, and then we have lots of vegan and vegetarian options in there, and several fish recipes. It's very light on red meat. As you know, the Mediterranean diet does include some meat, but I really created sort of a modified Mediterranean diet for psoriasis. So it's gluten-free, dairy-free, very limited on eggs and red meat, because those things can tend to be triggers for people who have skin issues, especially psoriasis.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And what are some common misconceptions that your clients or your friends kind of talk to you about?
So I have a lot of people that say, I don't think I could eat the way that you eat. And I say, I just eat real food. I mean, sometimes you have to get out of your comfort zone and stop eating food-like substances. I mean, some of the things that we pass off as food are poisoning the body and poisoning you. And so I really try to show people that you can make delicious, awesome food that's actually healthy and nourishing and promoting health in the body. And I also tell people food is information. I mean, when we're putting food into our body, it's providing information to every cell in your body, and it can turn on genes and turn off genes. It can create disease or it can create health. And so we really need to be paying attention to what we're putting into our body, because that's our future, and that's our quality of life.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm super big into inflammatory biomarkers. And if people could just visually see the inflammation that's being accumulated inside the body, then they would live life differently. But until we have some app that does that, uh, people aren't going to change until, a medical condition develops and blindsides them. And then they are more motivated to change up their diet.
Right. And I tell people a lot of times your body will give you subtle clues that there's a problem going on for years before there's an actual diagnosis. And so your blood sugar might be creeping up. That's a common thing that I see, and conventional physicians will not even tell a patient that their blood sugar is over 100. And we know that that's a warning sign of something going on in the body. And so, we really need to be careful about taking our provider's word for it. And so we need to do our own research and learn, what's important and what we need to be looking for. And so if you have a provider that's not willing to do that with you, then maybe search for another practitioner or another provider. And you have to really be your own best advocate. I mean, you are the person that's going to be living in your body. You can't expect anybody else to take as good a care of it as you can.
Mm-hmm. What are some advice that you could give to up-and-coming nutritionists out there?
This field is awesome. I mean, there are so many things that you can do as a dietitian. It's limitless. And so I encourage dietitians to really branch out. And it's not that you just have to be a clinical dietitian in a hospital. There are so many things that you can do. So for myself, I started a business with another dietitian in 2003, and we're still going strong. And so, I do a lot of consulting work. I do freelance writing now. I've written this book. There's so many avenues, and you can do lots of things and be creative and use your skills to really help people change their lives.
Got it. If you could take your favorite food and favorite herb to an island, what would it be?
Favorite food and favorite herb? I would have to say that I love cinnamon. I put cinnamon on all kinds of things. So I would take cinnamon with me. And then I would have to say that my favorite food, gosh, I have so many. I love a big, huge plate of fresh vegetables that have been sauteed over quinoa. That's like my big thing right now. So that's probably what I would take.
Awesome. Sounds delicious. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
I don't think so.
Yeah, this was awesome. And where can the trillions of listeners and viewers find you?
Okay, so I'm on NutrisenseNutrition.com is our website, and that has all the contact information and my phone number. And I'm also on Instagram at Nutrisense Nutrition. I'm on Facebook, Nutrisense Nutrition Consulting, and then my personal Facebook is Kellie Blake. And I share a lot of recipes that I come up with just for free on there and get the message out, that food is information, food is medicine, and food can change your life.
Food is definitely the medicine. All right, guys, make sure you go like all her pages. Thank you so much, Kellie, for joining the podcast. And as always, taco is out.
Thank you.